Hello, welcome to Under the Surface. Today, I don't have a guest, I have a co-host. So today with me, Anneli, we have Marena Whittle.
Hi, welcome to my show, Under the Surface. Today we have Anneli on.
We are going to be asking Marena a couple of questions, but then she's also going to take a moment and ask me some questions. This is my first co-host episode. We will, flow with some questions that you guys sent in, but I'm really excited. We have a lot of things to cover. And so, Marena, people that don't know you, give me a blurb. Who is Marena Whittle?
Who am I? General good vibes. I think quite funny. Obviously, I'm a basketball player. I've played basketball since I was very young, so I'm very athletic freak. Good times, really classic hits. Enjoy people, play basketball for a living, but I'm studying on the side, like to work, like to be around people.
What are you studying?
I feel like that's like a general, like how do you explain that?
That's a good blurb.
I think I'm a pretty cool person.
Yeah.
What am I studying? I'm studying law at the moment. So second year of law school.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So what about your basketball blurb? So for people that don't know you as an athlete, give that to us.
That was I feel like that was a really bad intro to who I am. So born and raised Melbourneite, played at Underwater Spectres since I was about like 8 years old. It was so fun. Loved it.
Melbourneite.
Are
we trademarking that term? Has anyone else heard anyone say that before? She's a Melbourneite.
Is it because I've just been in Adelaide for the last 3 years and we only just finished our season recently with Adelaide Lightning with Nat Hurst as her first year as a head coach. And I think maybe being over in Adelaide, there's like this little tension throughout all of the major cities. You would understand being in Bendigo.
Yeah. The Bendigogans.
Bendigoers.
Bendigogans.
Bendigo homes.
Bendigo, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if Melbourne's and Melbourneite, what are Adelaideans? Is that a thing?
The Radelaiders. Radeladers.
Yeah.
I like it.
So you're also a very established 3x3 player. You went to the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham this last year. Mm-hmm. Give us your 3x3 blurb. Talk to me about that.
Well, been on the Australian squad for about 4 years. I went to the World Cup qualifiers in Puerto Rico in 2019. Then COVID hit, unfortunately. Missed out on the Olympic qualifying team. I was on the squad, as were you.
Yes.
And then last year got the call up, joined the Asia Cup team. We went and won silver. Went and won silver. We lost to China. That was a really tough game for us. Mm-hmm. Hated it. I can't wait for this year.
Mm-hmm. And Marina and I were both on that team together, actually.
Yeah, it was a good one. And then, Commonwealth Games last year, which was the biggest highlight of my entire career. It was amazing, so much fun. Every time I'm at the foul line in the 5-on-5 world, I just always relive that moment of being in front of like the crowd going against England and then going against New Zealand. So short version, love 3x3, been playing it for 4 years, represented Australia on the international stages last year and I really enjoyed it.
What would you say the main difference between 3x3 and 5-on-5 is? I know this is not a question I have written down, but I'd actually like to know what you feel about that.
I think it's physicality. Yeah. Like it's pure, like it's like wrestling.
Yeah.
Basketball style. Physicality and then just like intensity. I think that like you're only on the court for 10 minutes and there's subs, so you're really only playing like 8 minutes, 9 minutes as a player. And that entire time you don't really get to stop. And it's just like how hard can you hit? How hard can you be hit? How quickly can you adapt? How fast can you run defensively? How much can you stop? Like it's just full on. And I love it. I love it so much.
So just taking everything that Marena just said, guys, Marena and I play against each other in 3-on-3. 3x3, sorry.
3x3. COVID.
And so how physical that is. We've been together for 5 years now, a bit longer.
Yeah, we don't actually know when we started dating, but we're pretty sure we're coming up to 5 years.
Coming up to 5?
In March?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, we make up a new date every year.
It's like the 18th.
Point being that it is super fun getting to play against each other, especially in the 3x3 space, because it's like literally in our training camps, like, you know what the 3x3 courts are like. It's like a grading board. Like it hurts when you fall over. We're hitting the crap out of each other.
Have you had a grating cheese? Imagine falling on that.
The body's hitting the floor. Like, at least Marena wears knee pads. My poor little bony knees just get cut up.
And Anneli, if you've ever seen Anneli play as well, she fully commits herself, body and mind. And so at the end of training, we've all got like some bumps and bruises. Anneli's missing skin on her thighs and her calves. It's full on.
Yeah. Anyway,
blood everywhere.
It's great. It's good fun. It's fun.
That's great.
And then on that, actually, so we played in Singapore together in the Asia Cup this last year, and Marena and I were the first ever openly queer couple to ever play for Australia together
on the same team. I would just leave it at the only couple to play together representing Australia.
Yeah. But also the crazy part is in Singapore it's illegal. So we would actually, this is a little fun like side story time.
Yeah.
We obviously we stayed in the same room, but every morning we had to move our beds apart when the cleaners came in because we were like, this is illegal.
Or we would come back and they'd beaten us to it and the beds had been like moved
because they're like, what is this? And like, their beds have been moved. What
do you mean? What are we looking at right now?
Yeah.
People's minds were exploding. And like, on the whole flight over as well, Anneli looked up like the rules in Singapore and like how we're allowed to act and PDA and all that stuff.
Do not hold hands.
No
refer to each other as friends.
Only friends.
Yeah.
Buds.
Buddy boys.
No touching.
Just guys. Just two guys playing sports.
Just the gals.
The gals playing sports together.
It also helps that the 3x3 culture that we built last year was just super, I don't want to say intimate with each other, but we were just so
everybody
close,
loved each other.
so united.
Yeah, you know semi-pro, it's like ELE. Everybody love everybody. Yeah. Think of the guys.
That's honestly what we were. That's why every photo that you see of us playing 3x3, we're all surrounding each other.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. That's just, we're just super intimate.
You have to because you can't hide in that sport. We're going on a tangent into 3x3. But anyway, you can't hide in that sport because you are so exposed in everything that you do, right? You'd be exposed if you are bad at dribbling, if you're not great on defense, if you're not great shooter, you're exposed. It's the same if you're not a great teammate. You're exposed. Like absolutely. you have to like better every single part of yourself to be able to play that style of game. And I think that it helps you in the long run with your 5-on-5 career as well. Moving into WNBL and stuff, obviously we play against each other in WNBL as well. Fun.
Yeah.
We're hoping to eventually get on a team where we play together.
Has anyone heard that?
Yeah. Putting it out to the league.
Out to the universe.
It would be fun. And one of the questions that we have had is, what is it like playing against each other in WNBL? I'm going to put that out to you, Marena. What is that like for you?
Well, we didn't really meet playing basketball against each other.
No.
So for me, playing against you, it's just a job. I think we're both super competitive. We have a lot of respect for each other on the basketball court. So playing against you is frustrating because all you need to do is try and box her out or try and stop her from scoring. It's impossible.
Also, Marena talks shit when she plays.
Get off. No, Anneli actually loves to talk smack.
I am a
smack talker. She hates it because I make all the jokes. Like I'm such a smooth criminal out there. Yeah. And it just gets
a smooth criminal.
So smooth. I'll never forget. Anyway, so many stories. But no, playing against you is tough because I respect you and I just want to compete and like it's all about winning. But also it's not like I'm out there to hurt you or I'm out there to like be malicious or anything. Like it's purely just our jobs. And then once the game is over, or even like if I've pushed her, this last season there's a photo of me helping her up because I flipped her over my shoulder by accident. trying to rip the ball.
She's John Cena'd me for any WWE fans out there.
Anyone that's out there.
Watch out. RKO out of nowhere.
Because you just stick onto the basketball. It's like, get the and then I didn't have the ball. Anneli's on the ground. I was like, all right, come on, get up. Do you find it hard?
Yeah, no. I wouldn't think so. I think it's fun. getting to play against you because also like in COVID during that break, we played 1-on-1 against each other like every day for hours. So I'd like to think that I know what you're going to do, but I always forget and I never get it right. But it's fun for me because like we spent so long pushing each other to get better as basketball players and spent so much time like, I don't know, putting into that part of ourselves. Getting to be on the court at the same time as you is like super exciting. And it also does a lot for visibility, right? Like being able to bring that to people's attention that like it's totally possible you can play on the same court as your partner, you can play in the same team as your partner. Like that's one of them taboo things, right? That people just don't usually accept. They're like, oh, but how does that work?
Because they struggle with it, right? Like everyone thinks, like you think that because we're athletes and we're competitive, like we're just incapable of like playing normally with each other.
You know, one of the
like striving for the same goal.
Yeah,
I don't know.
One of the most common questions people ask me when they ask about playing against Marena is, oh, so if you win, who walks home?
It's such a common question. Everyone's like bragging rights.
If you win, who's buying dinner? Who's buying dinner? That's not, first of all, guys, that's not a real concept. That's not how it works. You don't like, it's not like I win a game and I'm like, Marena, you're walking home.
You suck, babe.
That's not how it works. It's like, if whoever wins or whoever loses, it doesn't affect our life.
No,
like that's not.
It's not that serious.
No, and it's so hard to take people who like ask that question seriously because it's like, huh? Like, sorry, do you work with your partner in your marketing job? If she loses a sale, who's walking home? Like what?
I don't think of like walking the dog or just something simple. Like if you don't do it or you suck at it, it's like bragging rights automatically. Or like you lose respect.
Yeah.
And I think it's happened more so this last year.
Yeah,
maybe.
I would say, yeah.
Like even like in the NBL one, like you could remember because you went to the W, but like NBL 1 especially and this last WNBL season, people will be like, oh, so what happens now? Because Anneli beat me 3 times in a row.
We don't need to talk about
it. It's
okay. She walked home after. It's fine.
It's okay. No, Anneli walked home because we were in Adelaide and I was like, how dare you?
Yeah, don't get on the team bus.
It's just so frustrating. I was like, it doesn't matter that much. Like, how are you? Are you okay, stranger?
Yeah. I've got questions for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Challenge.
Can I also ask you?
Oh, ask me a question. Go.
Right now?
Yeah, go. Shoot.
Back to 3x3 real quickly. How did you find, because I feel like I've been in the 3x3 world for a little bit
have longer than me.
Not a crazy amount though, but how did you find playing with me in the international space and on the same team?
Well, I initially got into 3x3 because of Marena. So I wasn't playing.
Subtle brag.
Yeah, subtle brag for that, you know, you can claim that. So I initially got into the sport because of Marena. I had just gotten back from college and I had gone to watch her play.
Remember?
No, this is before we were dating. I went and watched her play at the Docklands.
Yeah.
And I tried. At this point, I was just trying to slide into her DMs, honestly.
Yeah. She was unaware that I was also trying to slide. So
so we were both just really awkward. Anyway, and I was like, oh, I just want to go watch this basketball thing. Like my friends were like, oh, who do you want to go watch? I was like, oh, everybody. Marena Whittle. And so I had gone to watch her play at the Docklands and while I was watching mainly just Marena, but everyone else, I was like, God, this looks fun. Like it was such a fast-paced game. It was super hardcore. Like it was just really cool. And that was my introduction to the space. And then obviously getting to know you and like knowing what it had done for your game and watching that style of play. At that point in my career, I was only a defender and a rebounder. I hadn't really opened the toolbox of what offense was yet. And
I also didn't super know that Anneli was a basketball player at this point.
Yeah.
We'll probably get into it later.
We'll circle back. Circle back. But yeah, so I getting into it was more of a like, this looks fun and it looks for now actually still to this day I want to go do 3x3 things because it kind of plays into my why. Like it is what makes basketball fun for me. And getting to do that with you was just like such an achievement because it's something that we've kind of done together. And I just think that my why for playing basketball is exemplified in the 3x3 space because it's not, you know, I'm not just playing with my partner. I'm also playing with some of my best friends, you know, and it's such a family there. And it's part of my why. And I think you know, I look at my next month and I've got 3x3 stuff, I've got Opal stuff, and then I go over to the WNBA. I couldn't think of a setup where I'm not doing the 3x3 stuff because I feel like that brings me back to my core of why I play basketball, right? It brings me back to my core of like why you enjoy the game so much, and it brings me back to like playing hoops with my brothers in the backyard.
It's just
you know?
playing basketball.
It's just playing basketball and it's just hooping.
Yeah.
Like it
there's
is.
Like less space on the court. There's more space on the court because less people. So it's just like if you have the ball in your hand, you feel so free.
It really is. It's quite amazing. But I digress. I would like to ask you, Marena.
Yep.
How did you get into basketball in the first place? Like what was that?
Yeah. Well, my dad coached. At Nunawading, and he also coached at a domestic team, and mum was a netball coach, and I played domestic since I even went to like the mosquito fleets, and I vividly
Mosquito fleets? What is that?
Yeah, Nunawading, might remember, but it's like the little ultra babies trying to run up and down the court.
Yeah.
And we were doing it we were doing that like lane passing drill where like pass to the middle and you have to run around the outside and there's a rubbish bin in the way.
Yeah.
And I was so small that I actually ran into it. And like uncoordinated, and I just like
you ran into the bin.
I ran on top of inside the bin. It was problematic.
I've heard this story before.
Yeah, I don't know. Here I am. No, so I played locally for Vermont Vultures or Vermont Eagles, and I actually played mixed basketball until I was under 14s, and until the boys and girls had to separate because of basketball size. And I loved it. I was one of like 3 girls that was playing in the entire league against the boys. And enjoyed it, dominated it, and I was getting asked a lot to go play Nunawading. And I remember finding out that training started on a Sunday at 7:30. And I just it took me so long to come around to it, but yeah, it was just playing in a local stadium and getting asked to come try out, and then I did, and the rest was history. I fell in love with it once I started playing rep, and once I got over the whole waking up early on a Sunday morning. That was insane to me at 8 years old. But yeah, my family didn't play a crazy amount of basketball. My older sister played the Nunawading, and she played under Tony Carlin, Jason Harvey, amazing coaches. And so I had an idea, but no, it's not like we're a basketball family and just I happened to fall in love with it. You know, I just got asked one day.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's so boring, hey? It's like,
I think
families.
you could have just started with like, so this one time I fell into a bin and the rest is history.
I like bins.
I fell into the trash.
I happened to be at a basketball stadium, and then they said, hey, do you want to play?
I started from the bottom, literally, in a trash can.
Inside the bottom.
I started inside the bottom.
Reached in and
said, now we're here.
Do you want to play basketball?
There's this really great song. Shout out Drake. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom of the trash can, now we're here. Yeah, I digress. And then when we talk about your career what would be maybe one of your biggest challenges that you have faced?
Whoa. I would say, so I didn't go to the Institute of Sport. So I was super unaware of the pathways that were potentially laid out before me when I was a junior. And I think since playing WNBL, the hardest thing for me to wrap my head around is the concept that like the development that goes into players from a young age, and trying to fight that stereotype and coming in almost from like the outside and like asserting myself. So and within that, it's like the consistency that you need, the mental consistency that you need, trying to fight against the fatigue and trying to consistently make the right decisions, even when like you're going against people that are probably better than you, and trying to find a way to get better than him. What is he doing?
Yeah. By the way, our dog's here and he's just having a nap.
I hear him moving.
Yeah, I know. A bit of a jingle. He's just having a bit of a time. Yeah, anyway, he'll wander. Yeah. I would say for me, right, like you're talking about the stereotypes and the pathways and yada yada.
Yeah, and like trying to like come into that and try and fight against that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I would say mine was that I saw this pathway, and in my head that was the only way that you could go. So I really struggle with feeling like I'm boxed into doing a certain, like I have to do things a certain way. You know, like that feeling of like if I don't do it this way, I'm gonna disappear. No one's going to see the development. No one's going to see, and like that challenge of like knowing that there's always different avenues to get to your goal, right? Because it's painted out to be this picture that like, here's the professional athlete, right? And here's how we get there. And it's like this straight line. And from a kid, you're like, well, to be, and for us, an opal or a professional player, for you to be that, you have to follow this exact pathway. And for us, it's kind of like juniors, state teams, Oz teams, institute, maybe college, then professional sport, right? And it's so linear and it's so it's so drilled into us, right? It's like it has to be that way, and I think that's toxic as hell. I think that is toxic because not everyone is financially able to follow those steps.
Super expensive.
Not everyone is in socioeconomic areas to where they have access to those steps.
Or even transport to get to those spots.
And then for also like not everyone is happy just following one pathway that is so linear. Like there should be space for us to get here. We're going to have to take a couple steps back every now and then. We're going to have to take a detour this way. But if you want to be this, if that's what you want to be, you can do that without any sort of constraint of following a specific pathway. And I mean, I know you also find this now when we train young kids sometimes and they're like, oh, well, you know, I just feel like I'm going to miss out because I'm in the 2s and not the 1s.
Oh my God.
I just feel like I'm going to miss out because I didn't get invited to state trials. That stuff shouldn't matter, right? Because as a junior, it should all be about developing and experiencing, but it doesn't take away from, you know, in under 14s. If you don't make a state team in under 14s, that doesn't mean by the time you're 25, you're not going to be a professional athlete.
Under 14s, how old are you? Like 12 and 13?
Yeah.
Like,
but aren't you made to feel like that?
Yeah. And think about when people actually develop as well.
Yeah.
Like you're going to tell me that you can tell from like a 12-year-old that they're going to be an amazing 26-year-old. Like think about all of their life experiences that they're going to take on.
And I think we miss so much talent. And I say we, talking about the Australian system, by the way, I think we miss so much talent because when we identify it, it's from such a small pool of talent. It's from such a small area of what we choose from. And I just think that we miss so many people. So I digress. When I'm talking about challenges, I that would be not my biggest, but that is something that I would like to say that I'm working towards, maybe highlighting and talking about. And then, you know, there's some more obvious things. And when I want to ask you about struggles in your professional life now.
Can I say one more thing? Like
okay, go. Shoot.
And especially since working with juniors that you and I both are, it's like one of the hardest barriers that I see is like the personalities of, or I guess the approaches of coaches that don't understand the impact that they can have to a child's or a player's career.
Yeah.
Like coaches don't know the impact that they have by not choosing a kid because they don't like them.
Yeah.
Or like they don't like their personality or something. That doesn't change their skill or anything. And because they don't like them, they're going to not pick them for a good team, and that's going to like have a ripple effect potentially. Yeah. So that's also a big thing. Sorry, I digress. Welcome to my show.
Welcome to the Marena Whittle show.
Hello.
Okay, so as a junior versus a professional athlete, what do you still struggle with now being a professional athlete that you don't feel like is either enough talked about or is something that you're looking to kind of bring to light more in the professional space?
Oh, great question. Great question. Wish I had time to think about it. No, when I think of things that I'm trying to bring to light and things that I always aspire to bring attention to in situations that I'm in as a professional, it would be like mental health, obviously, but also just, what is the word? Celebrating people for their individualism, you know, and I think that as a professional, and it makes sense, and as female athletes, like we are boxed in a lot. And I feel like we're expected to behave a certain way. And I think even within team environments and stuff, you're expected to behave a certain way. I think that there's still so much room to celebrate people for who they are. And, you know, it's incredible because we just had the Adelaide Lightning Pride round this last year, and we're having rounds which are dedicated to supporting individuals, you know, or communities, you know. I just think that there's so much more room within the professional environment to maybe be a bit silly. Be a bit honest.
Celebrate individuality.
Yeah, and not have to put rose-coloured glasses on things, you know, because people do struggle. People like go through daily issues. Sometimes people go through financial issues, mental health issues, you name it. You know? Even like struggling to know who they are as their own person, you know. But
can I ask, do you feel like in your career you've been able or been in situations where you've been celebrated as an individual or accepted as an individual and allowed space to grow there, or what's your take on that?
Yeah, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well, because I think that this is, I mean, I'm a funny character. I'm pretty happy just to like stay in my lane, which is not, I don't think it's the norm. You know, we talk about pathways. My pathway was so different to a few other people's. And I've been in situations where I have been celebrated and I've been accepted, and then I've also been in situations where I have not been accepted, or I've had to maybe bend a certain way to make other people feel comfortable, and I hate that.
Yeah,
I hate it with a passion. Like, as long as you're not rude or like disrespectful or just outrageous, I think that there should be room for all people, like regardless. You know, just be a nice person, be a good egg. Yeah. Support. Love. Yeah. Love is love. What about you?
Well, this is kind of like a hard question for me, right? Because as an individual, I'm still trying to figure out who I am. And I think there's this perception that as professional athletes, we already know who we are. Like, it's like, you're a professional athlete. Like, you're there. You're there. You've got it together. I don't have it together. I don't know who I am. And I'm still trying to figure that out. I think that this idea of having your stuff together is kind of harmful, right? Because it doesn't give us a lot of space to grow. When we're expected to be a certain way already, it doesn't give us the areas or like the resources to kind of change who we are and grow and experience different parts of ourselves. And we've spoken about this a lot, where I'm personally, I feel like I'm in the process of trying to figure out a lot of things about me, you know, my why of why I do what I do. But who I am is such a big piece of that. Like who, you know, it's the why you wake up and do what you do every day, but it's also like, who are you doing it for, and who are you? When you look in the mirror every morning, it's like, who are you? Who are you? Like, who is this person that you're looking back at? And I think that the growth side of that, to celebrate myself as an individual, I feel like first I need to figure out who that is. And I'm pretty open with just everything that I talk about. Like, you know, I have clinical depression. I suffer with anxiety. I have a panic disorder. And I still struggle with those things every day. I'm medicated for two out of those three things. And it affects like every single part of my life. You know, people don't realize that, you know, a simple task, right? Actually, this is a really good one. A simple task like putting the salt away after you use it for dinner. Oh my God. A simple task like that, or like remembering to respond to an email. Yeah. Or picking up the phone or calling someone back. Yeah. That can be incredibly difficult for someone that is medicated for general anxiety disorder, clinical depression, and someone with a panic disorder, because some of those side effects include like memory loss. Yeah. Inability to like, what is it called when you lose balance? Sometimes I'm not allowed to be behind a motor vehicle. Yeah. There's a lot of things that people don't realize that, you know, I struggle with every day. So when people, you know, some of the questions that we have here about like, oh, you're my idol. Like when people say that they look up to me, I'm like, yeah, but I still don't know who I am. So what are you looking up to? Like, who is me? So that's my long-winded answer for that one.
But even some of that stuff, like it took me a while to understand what that looked like in you. Like, so when I laughed, right, it's so funny. Anneli had the longest time, and I didn't understand. She had the habit of, she squeezes containers. So when she pours out the almond milk in her coffee, she squeezes it dry, leaves the lid off, and then places it on the counter. And then I'll come in like 30 minutes later or an hour later, and I'll be like, babe, you didn't put it away again.
genuinely, I just forget.
Yeah.
Like it's
and it took us so long to like have that conversation because I just mistook it as you just being
lazy.
Yeah, and I was like,
right?
oh my God.
Is that not like that's another actually
This is a long one.
stereotype that I'd like to go down because people that struggle with whatever mental health issue it is or that's currently going through it, there's a perception of laziness and there's a perception of not doing enough. And like I promise you, I am the hardest working person in the room at any time. I work so hard and I'm not lazy, but there are times where people would look at me and be like, oh, she just forgets to do this because she doesn't care. You know how tired I get just trying to remember to do stuff every day is so hard.
Well, not only are you physically working so hard, you're also mentally working so hard and emotionally as well, just to stay stable. And I'm undiagnosed. I haven't been diagnosed. However, I still experience like severe bouts of depression. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I feel super blue sometimes. And even at the moment after seasons, I go through these little low lapses where it looks lazy. It looks lazy, but internally my mind is
so
bouncing
loud
and I'm like screaming. And you've even seen it at the moment. Like I'm just not in like it's so funny when season finishes, it's like we have so many options. It's almost too many and it's like keep it simple. Yeah. Please.
You know, actually this is perfect because I want to ask you about like in season we operate at such a high level, right?
Yeah, constantly.
All the time, go. You're always on. Season finishes.
Yep.
Post-season blues.
Is real.
What does that look like? You kind of touched on it in a little bit, but what does that look like for you personally? That postseason, maybe it's blues or maybe it's like just processing. Postseason processing.
Postseason processing.
PSP. Postseason processing.
Processing.
How do you process a environment like that, a situation, whether it's NBL 1, WNBL, whatever. How do you, after an experience, process that?
I mean, like this postseason is big because I jumped from went to Com Games, jumped to NBL 1. We went deep into the postseason. We won.
Marena was the NBL 1 Grand Final MVP.
That's what we
Yeah.
But then I jumped straight from that into WNBL. And so this is like really the first time in a long time I felt like I've had the time to really process a lot. And because of that, I don't think I did a very good job throughout the season of like breaking everything down and compressing it and understanding it and all the good stuff that I normally do. But postseason for me, it's a bit chaotic personally because you've seen me, I'm a very structured person. I have a calendar at home and I have to have everything organised. So the idea of not having anything on for a week is good for me because it gives me an opportunity to just kind of sit and be in it and do all the positive mental health things like go for walks, be around the dog, be around my partner and do all those great things. But processing is like, for me, I just need to sit still and like feel like that's okay. Yeah. And I mean, we worked out yesterday and we did a bit of a session yesterday, but today has been one of those slow days that I really needed after season. And yeah.
Do you think as athletes we're given enough time or just not even time, just maybe, I don't know. I feel like this question applies to all, right? Do you think as athletes we're given permission to sit still?
I think it goes back to before when you're like the stereotypes and being like pigeonholed and if you're not doing anything, we're lazy. Yeah. I don't think, and I also think that being athletes, like we are performers, like we're entertainers, unfortunately. And when you...
Or fortunately, however you want to look at it.
Fortunately, I freaking love it, to be honest. Yeah. But like, I think it is a bit tough because we're always on show. Yeah. And like, obviously what we're talking about is trying to change that perspective and like being able to have room to make mistakes and make like judgment calls and change and adapt. But no, I wouldn't think that there's much room for us. I think the landscape is changing for sure with stuff like this that's taking place and people are starting to understand that there's more to us. But do I think that there's like a crazy amount of room for movement for us to make mistakes, perhaps not be our best at times? No, not at the moment. Yeah. And I don't think in the WNBL or in women's sports.
Yeah. Perfect, because I'm about to ask you about mistakes and failures.
Oh, so, I love this.
So when you think of being allowed to make mistakes or how you view a mistake or a failure, how do you process the fact that you've from the traditional sense, failed at something.
Yeah.
And what is a failure for you, right? For people that can't see, I'm quotation miking the mic. What is a failure? Like how would you define that for you? Or do you not see that as something that you would even use in your, I don't know, term book?
Yeah.
Your dictionary.
My dictionary.
Yeah.
Well, no, if we talk about failures, I don't think that unless it's making a team or losing like a gold medal match or losing a game to make the gold medal match or like a finite something that's completely measurable, like something like that serious. I just don't really see failures. I don't know. I just see mistakes and rooms for improvement. Like, because there's always a reason, right? Like for me, when I look back at my season, making mistakes in the last one game, Melbourne Boomers had a turnaround jump shot, could have won us the game. Saw Steph Talbot cutting, and instead of shooting, I thought she had an easier shot, so I kicked it to her. She didn't expect it. Ball goes out of bounds. Melbourne Boomers ball, and we went into overtime and lost, right? But I still don't see that as a failure. I see it as a simple mistake. And like, so next time, what I'm going to do better is shoot my damn shot.
Yeah.
And like, just like trust myself a little bit more. And yeah, I don't really see. There's one failure in mine that does ring true, which is where I had like an awesome camp and I got the call to say that I didn't make the team for a 3x3 when I was back in the Knox house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really tough day that day. But besides that, I just see everything as a room for improvement.
So this is a great segue for me to answer this question because you'll see the clear difference between someone that is mentally able to kind of separate themselves from actions.
Yeah.
Because for me personally, I struggle with failure, right? And I believe that a lot of the things that I do, it's like, oh, I failed. Like, and this concept is super, super overwhelming. Mistakes for me, overwhelming. And they, for you, were an action, right? For me, they're me. So when I make a mistake, the mistake is me.
It's like a personality.
Yeah, it's like something that, and that is, that's stuff to do with my mental health issues and stuff that I'm constantly working on, by the way, which I would like to bookmark and get back to. But when I, for example, if I'm going up to take a game-winning shot and I've missed, it's not, I've made a mistake and I'll do better next time. It's like I have failed myself and everyone around me and the world is literally ending. And it takes me it takes me so long to mentally separate myself from the mistake. And that's something I try to do after games now if I feel like I haven't performed, especially this season. If I feel like I haven't performed, I take a really long time to then retrain my brain to be like, okay, I didn't perform this task, this act, but me as a human, Anneli, isn't a failure. And that's something I'm working on trying to separate. And it's really, really hard. Things like journaling definitely help, or like, words of affirmation to yourself, like actually forcing myself to go and look at myself in the mirror and be like, you are okay.
Yeah.
And those things actually really, really help. But like, it's cool for me to like compare the language that we use, right? Because I'm working on using the language that you just did. But I'm so attached to my perceived failures that I let them affect my version of what has actually happened. And, for a lot of people, basketball is, and sport in general, I guess, is, a big part of their identity, but they can also see themselves as a person outside of. And that's part of why I love doing what I do on this show, is because I get to talk to some amazing people about what they experience and what happens under the surface. Under the surface. So I just think that, that's something that I'm definitely working on. And I would like to go down a little tangent here. I had the question asked of me recently by a family member saying, well, you've been struggling with, depression and anxiety and stuff for a really long time now. Well, is it ever going to end? Are you ever going to get better? And that's a really hard question,
it's like super serious.
Super serious, right? So like that's something I've been struggling with. Am I going to get better? That's the goal,
But is that the goal though? Like
the idea is for me actually.
Just like to be able to like handle every day, right?
So for me, the goal is actually learning how to live with it.
Yeah.
not to like tackle this thing that is like, it's not something that I want to like just squish down. It's something I want to grow with.
It's not a box to tick.
No, it's a part of me.
Yeah.
It's a part of me. And, you know, part of what makes me so empathetic is also the thing that hurts me the most. You know, like it's like I care so much about other people that it hurts me.
Yeah.
And I think that the idea of like, oh, it's been happening for ages. Most people go through this stuff for years, and
some people don't even get medicated or even diagnosed
or even reach out for help.
Don't even know how.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe that, you know, it's this beautiful thing that I'm able to do to talk about this stuff. But for whatever reason, recently, some people in my life have been questioning, oh, is that a sense of your identity now? No. Can I just say, no, it is not a part. I don't identify as someone with depression. That's not like, hi, I'm Anneli Mailey.
Hey, how are you?
I am sad.
I'm not okay.
Like what? Like that's not a thing.
How are you going?
Yeah, like it's not a thing. And I would like to encourage people when they're talking to friends and family members and they're trying to check in on their mates and trying to do all these things. Never bring up a timeline. Because we're doing the best we can, okay? Like we are doing, and even if we're not doing the best we can, we're doing.
Yeah.
We wake up every day and that's enough sometimes. The pressure to like always, like, and I'm always working on it. I am always working on it.
Yeah.
But also I don't have to.
Yeah.
I can also just be.
If you don't want to one day, that's okay.
That's okay.
Like that's so valid, you know, because like this is your experience.
How long are you going to be struggling for?
As long as I need.
As long as but also like, I don't know. I don't know. That's a looming, dooming question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away from anything that I do. It doesn't make me any less of an athlete. It doesn't make me any less of a person. And I had to then have this conversation with said family member after, saying like, look, I know what you were trying to say.
It's so funny because I'm trying to figure out who in the family
which family member.
Who was that?
I know what they were trying to say, but I hope, you know, for people listening, if you have a friend, daughter, partner, son, know someone who is going through, you know, anything at all, any step, is just going through something. Don't ask them how long they're going to be going through it, because this feels like a long time. I can't remember the last time I haven't felt like this. It already feels like an eternity. Don't put another timeline on it. Don't put the pressure on yourself to be like, I need to be better by January 5th. Like what? That's not
December. I'm going to be
like, that's not, I just encourage you to, and then from myself, take the pressure off of like, you need to get better all the time. You don't like that's.
You need
not
to be
a
okay.
Thing. You need to be okay.
You need to be okay. Like we need to make sure that we're okay right now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Let's take care of our like current state of being, and then like we'll build on there. And that's when it's like, okay, as long as I'm safe and I'm all right and I'm not in a panic state. But if I am, how do I fix it? How does somebody help me? But then also, like then we can add on layers and like go through like the diagnosis stage, the therapy stage, all of those extra things. So many barriers to get there. Though.
Yeah, exactly.
But as someone who's not diagnosed, I think that was a thing that I had to educate myself on as well. And I think when it comes to anything that's so different or that's different that I'm not currently going through, it's so important to approach it with an open mind. And from an educational standpoint, you know, like trying to learn, be more curious. But it's important to also recognize and correct me, but I feel like when it comes to medication or diagnoses or whatever, it's not something that you can fix. And it's like, you know, you have to go through that, like not roller coaster, but you have to go through those dips and troughs and lifts to like find out what actually works for you. Yeah. And then if you can see my hand going up and down, I'm stabilizing. But then even once you're stable, like your brain, your chemicals, whatever it is, your hormones, it can throw it off again. Yeah. So it's just like a nonstop.
I would like to interject.
Sorry.
This is perfect. Don't try and fix me.
Oh,
I don't need to be fixed. Back up. I am fixed. I'm not broken. Yeah. I don't need to be fixed. I'm struggling with something, but I'm a powerful person. Yeah. I'm a powerful, motivated, cool human. I'm a cool guy, you know. Like,
you're a cool chica.
I'm a fun guy.
How are you?
Also, I'm really sorry to interject with this.
Just keep on going down.
I know.
This is what you
There
get.
is this meme that my friends brought up to my attention the other day, and it's like a mushroom and a lady talking.
What?
And then she's like, I just wanted to meet this fun guy. And he's like, I am a fun guy.
I'm fungi.
It's like spelt fungi, but like, I am a fun guy. That's what just went through my head just then. Sorry, we just made it a bit silly. I would, moving on.
About mental health though.
No,
Super important. Don't try and fix people.
Don't try and fix people.
Yeah.
There's like,
Don't do it.
be there for people, but never make someone feel like they're broken and need to be fixed.
Nah.
You're perfect the way you are.
Make
You
sure
are
they're
perfect
okay.
the way you are. You don't need to be fixed.
Yeah.
And also, I'm saying this not just to everyone. I'm saying this to myself. This is like me. This is a mantra. I'm saying, you are you. You don't need to be fixed. You are not broken. You are healing.
Yeah.
You do not need to be put back together. You need to grow. And, you know, there's this beautiful, like, what do you call it, example in Japanese culture that when they break a vase,
Yep.
they fill the cracks with gold.
With gold.
And that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing. I am filling my divots with gold, and
Yeah.
I am making myself a better version of myself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that I don't accept the version of where I am now. It just means that I'm accepting the cracks and I am embracing them, and I'm filling them with gold, baby.
Amazing.
Filling them with gold.
That's why I've got Hercules and Hydra on my arm as a tattoo. Hercules is supposed to be myself, super strong, but Hydra represents like being cut down and then growing and coming back stronger.
Yeah.
Right? Like they cut off one head and then two grow back.
Yeah.
I was like, good luck trying to fix that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good
Like,
luck.
I'm coming back stronger, baby.
Not one snake.
baby.
Two, baby.
Bang, bang.
Okay. All right. I want to
Golden
move
snakes.
on to
Sorry, guys.
International Women's Day, because it was International Women's Day on Wednesday. So I just
Yep.
want to talk a little bit about
Power.
powerful women.
Yep.
I want to know,
May we be them, may we grow them, may we know them.
that's
I
a
don't
good
think
slogan.
that's nice.
Yeah, it's good.
It might be the
What-
one.
That is that the slogan? What is
May
that
we
from?
be them, may we know them.
may
Definitely not grow
we
them.
may we raise them?
Raise them.
Raise them,
Yeah.
be them, know them.
Yeah.
What is that off?
We'll look it up.
Yeah.
We'll add it to the click notes below.
Yeah, click no.
We add it to the bio.
So yes, International Women's Day. Obviously, being a female athlete, we have to talk about equality in sport, but also just being a female in general. Is there anything that comes to mind when I speak of International Women's Day?
Oh my God. I love women. I
Yeah.
think we're so powerful. I don't know. That's it.
That's
I just
it?
think we're
That's the
so
end?
powerful. We're like, people underestimate us constantly. And it's so frustrating how when you think of like coming to the table and like women being in a boardroom or in a circle of men, or even in sports specifically, it's like female athletes or female basketballers being around NBL guys or NBA guys. It's like constantly having to prove ourselves.
We've got the
and,
quote.
like, yeah,
Are you
okay, what is
ready?
it?
Here's to strong women. May we know them. May we be them. May we raise them.
Good.
Point blank, period.
We knew. It's ingrained in our
That's the one.
brain.
Yeah, I really like that. I think for me, International Women's Day is just recognizing the fact that, like, as a woman, we have to, we deal with a lot of crap. We
Yeah.
deal with a lot of crap. But then also, like what you said, we're constantly underestimated and
Yeah.
undervalued.
Yeah.
And I just think that the International Women's Day is like, here's to recognizing all the powerful people that came before us.
Oh my God.
All the powerful women. And that's not just, so I'm being very clear here. When I speak of women, I'm speaking of not just cisgender women. I'm also speaking of, you know, people who identify as females, people who don't identify as females,
They,
people,
thems.
you know, they, them, non-binary, binary, you know, like it is the when I think of women, I'm really extending that past the boundaries
People.
of gender. But I just think that we really need to recognize that we wouldn't be able to be sitting here talking if there hadn't been, you know, the people to take the first steps in the professional world, in the media world, in the sporting world that have paved that pathway for us. And heck, I'd like to be that for the next person.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that just empowers me to be that for the younger version of myself. And
Oh my God, my baby.
Yeah.
My baby Marena.
Baby Marena.
Aw, she could see me now.
Yeah. Isn't that a
Yeah.
crazy thing, right? Because,
It is.
you know, I was speaking to you about this the other day. Like, little me would be so proud.
Oh my God.
Little
right?
me. And I actually I had tears about
Yeah.
this. Little me would be so proud. And I just finished a season where I wasn't super happy with the way I played, the way I performed, but I had to take a step back and be like, little me would be so proud of myself.
Yeah.
Like little me sitting in the stands of like a big V game in Eltham would have absolutely crapped her pants if she heard of some of the things that I'm doing now.
Just in this last year alone.
Yeah.
As well.
Like and I'm not talking just basketball. I'm talking about like the fact that I'm able to like sit and have conversations with people and look them in the eye. Like little me would be like, yes, go off, queen. Like, you know, like, I don't know. I just think it's a super amazing thing to be able to recognize that, right? For
absolutely.
you, what would little Marena be most proud of?
Oh, you know, it's a great question.
Right?
Yeah, because I think about like who I was when I was younger, and I was this weird character, and I was this little athletic, just a bit funky in spaces like social groups and stuff. But I think that younger Marena would be so proud of like the strong, empowered woman that I am, who's seeking education, who's seeking social relationships, who's seeking entrepreneurship, who's seeking to be the best physical version of herself. For so long, I thought that having muscles was ugly and like was masculine. It was disgusting to be masculine, and such an ugly, ugly thought process, right?
Yeah.
And like when we're younger, like I'm 29 this year. Yeah, hate to say, but it's beautiful and I love it.
Chasing 30.
Chasing it, baby.
Chasing 30.
I'm coming up to ya. But like even 20 years ago, like the whole attitude towards femininity and female bodies was so different to what it is now, even to what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think growing up, like young Marena would be so impressed that I'm able to stand here in this strong female body and I can represent myself in any way that I choose to. And I am confident. I'm a hottie.
She's a she's a confident gal.
I really like myself.
Yeah.
On days that I don't, I'm super aware of it. But
I'd like to just take a moment to talk about femininity real quick because femininity is more than just being, you know, like actually let's talk about the stereotype of that.
Let's
being dainty. Being a pretty little, you know, quiet,
girls,
feminine, you know, femininity is powerful. Femininity is strong. Femininity is speaking your mind.
Passion.
Femininity is passion. It is being true to yourself, being who you are. It is loving with your whole entire soul. It is to be loved. It is to give love.
Go off.
It is just so much more than this traditional sense of just sit there and shush and look cute.
Sit there, shut up, look pretty.
No, and I also think that femininity and masculinity can coexist in a place where they complement each other and are seen in the same gender. So like masculinity doesn't mean man.
Nope.
And femininity doesn't mean female. You can embrace what those two things mean and still be a woman.
Yeah.
Like I can hold.
Or identify as a woman.
Yeah, or identify as a woman. I can hold parts of myself that I identify as masculine. And I'm not talking about body features, by the way. When I talk about masculinity, I'm not talking about like, you know, the traditional, I look strong. I am a macho man. Masculinity is like strength in will. It is softness. To me, masculine is to be soft and understanding. Like that when I talk about embracing that side of myself, I'm definitely not talking about the shape of my body.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the features of masculinity that lie beyond the surface.
For some reason, as you're talking, I think that femininity is like the power of women to be heard in a room full of men.
Yeah.
And I think it's so powerful and so strong.
Yeah.
And like masculinity, we're trying to change it from toxic masculinity to just understand that men can have feelings too and talk about feelings. And I love the landscape that we're going into. But femininity is like, I'm thinking of a woman or someone that identifies as female standing in a room of large men, different than her, different than them, and being able to get their point across, being able to speak without stuttering, being able to stand with confidence. Yeah. And like that's where I freaking hope that we can get to as a society, where everyone's just heard.
Agreed. I love that.
I love femininity. I thought you were going to shake my hand.
Shake my hand.
Yes.
Yeah. We love it.
I love it.
Yeah. Go females.
Go gals.
Go gals.
Go theys.
So I'm going to move on from that. How do you think, Marena, and I will answer this question as well. How do you think people see you versus who you actually are?
Oh, I love this question. I think that my tattoos make me seem super intimidating and super serious. And I think that the way that I play on the basketball court is passionate and strong, and I'm very physical and I yell a lot and I'm very animated. And I think that people find me potentially intimidating, like generally.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Asking the room.
Were you scared?
Yeah. When Marena walked in today, were you shaking in your boots?
Oh. They held me.
The ground kind of rumbled.
Yeah. As a boom.
The lights went dark.
Yeah, I said, here I am, Undertaker.
Sorry, continue.
But who I am, no, I think it's so far from who I actually am. Like, I can be intimidating. I can be confident, as can all of us. But I'm actually a massive softie.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. Like, I'm a big softie, and I love to learn. I love to ask questions, and I love to put people first. And yeah, I'm just a general softie. I actually had to stop working as a support worker for a little bit because it just hurt my heart.
This is actually a true fact. So Marena
painful.
was a support worker for a while, and she was such an empath in that situation that she had to stop her job because she would carry it home with her.
Yeah, and I had to I was working a lot. This is during COVID as well.
Just to be there for people.
Yeah, and that was my job. And and I had to limit some of my shifts because I was aware of the impact that it was having to our daily life.
Yeah.
Big softie.
Yeah.
Yep.
You want to ask me a question?
I'm cute. What do you think people see? Well, before the podcast as well.
Wait. Here, ask that. The one I just asked you. The one I just asked you.
How do you think people see you versus who you actually are?
I like that with a soft tone voice too.
Yeah.
How do you think people see you?
When I worked on phones, it was problematic. Said, what are we doing here?
Marena as a tech caller. Hello. Okay, sorry.
Hey,
let me answer the question.
Anneli,
how do I think people see me?
Yeah.
I am actually working really hard to bridge the gap of how people see me and who I am. Because I think I fall into a trap of when I feel uncomfortable, I get more bubbly and I give more and I talk more and I try and make everyone else around me comfortable. And I think what I'm learning is more and more I can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get to the point where I'm so open and honest that what you see is also who you are.
Yeah.
Who I am. What you see is who I am. And I think I'm doing better at letting people in more. And I think by having these conversations and using my media platform to actually have these conversations, that when people see me, they don't just see an athlete or an athlete that is laughing all the time and smiling, because, sometimes, they say that sometimes the people that are struggling the most are the loudest in the room. And I fall into that category. I really do. And what I am working towards is making what people see is who I am and being okay with not always being this perfect version that I expect of myself.
Yeah.
As my friend has been using this word recently, a shtick.
Shtick.
That's my shtick.
That's your thing.
That's my shtick.
Your thing.
I think that my shtick is trying to minimize the gap of who I am perceived as and who I actually am. And that doesn't mean that I have to tell everyone everything all the time. I think it just means that I need to be more transparent in order to help break down the barriers of some of the things that I had to go through.
It's like honesty and vulnerability as well. Like, you need to kind of harbor that. And it's so hard as well to allow for silence.
Yeah.
I really struggle sitting in silence sometimes. It's saying my piece.
Is that your shtick?
My shtick.
Your shtick.
My thing. My thing is a feeling the need to have to fill in the silence.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really tough thing to come to terms with. And you truly have to work on yourself to be confident enough to be nah.
Yeah.
Someone else break it.
Yeah, true. Actually,
I'm good.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, so from here, we have a bunch of questions that were sent in, and I'm just going to ask you. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Some of them we've actually already covered.
Yeah.
So,
Beyonce, hit me.
So this is a good one. Which AFLW team is Marena Whittle going to be recruited by?
My DMs are open. Please email me.
Marena, are you open to playing AFLW?
Yeah, I actually am. I think that it would suit the style of basketball that I play. And I think I'm looking forward to maybe exploring that if people are open to having me. Would you be open to it? I feel like you'd be freaking awesome.
I would love to eventually.
Yeah.
I don't believe I have the skill level naturally with like a ball to be able to do that. Like
I've seen your soccer.
Marena is an unbelievable just sports player. Like anything, it just happens naturally for her. So like when we've gone and kicked the footy, my brother plays VFL, and we've gone and kicked a footy with him. Marena just gets it. Like it just works. Like I try and kick it straight and it goes behind me.
Yeah.
You know, like
It's the length of your legs. They're too long.
Yeah, my legs are too
Your
long.
arms, whoa.
Yeah. It's
You're
too
too
much.
tall.
But I'd love to eventually. But I also I'm so aware of my lack of skill in that area. But I've seen you. I completely believe that you could do it.
I mean, I can't just jump into it. Obviously, they're super skilled athletes.
Yeah.
So I'd love to have a go.
This is a good one. Who's your favorite, Loki or Anneli?
Oh my god, baby!
He's under the table right now having a nap.
No, I can't answer that.
You can't.
I love you. You're great. The dog. I can't actually communicate with him though, so it's really hard to tell the dog how much I love him.
I don't know. I feel
He's a
like
baby.
everyone knows he's the favorite.
Is he your favorite?
Obviously.
What do you mean?
I'm
sitting right here.
I got him to like replace Marena when she went away.
Problem. I said
she came back and there was a dog and she's like, what the hell, man? Like I've been replaced.
Yeah, I loved him as a puppy. I missed his like pure puppy stage.
Yeah.
And so when I got to him, he was just that awkward size. And I was like, babe, are you replacing me with a dog?
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's okay. I actually love him so much.
Favorite things to do on off days?
Eat so much food. I love
Because
eating.
on days, we don't put food in our mouth.
I don't eat on days.
No.
No, I love to get out into nature, and like whether that's obviously in Adelaide, it's great because we've got beaches, and we also had the hills, and we had like Mount Lofty a few times. So I love doing that and love it, like experiencing new things, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And then eating food, and I'm a reader gal, so I love to read books.
Yeah, I've recently gotten Marena into reading.
Okay, that was months ago. I'm actually my own reader at this point. Thank you. I'm into the books.
We're both fantasy readers.
What do you like to do?
On my off days? We haven't had a lot of off days this year. But for me, it's just, doing the things that center myself. Usually I would actually say that I do art, and that's something that lots of people know, but I haven't had a studio space this year, and that's been really hard actually not being able to do that. But I read a lot. I spend so much time with my dog. I've been really into music lately. I've been listening to a lot of music. I've run into some really cool people recently who have really opened up my music space.
The library is
library
open.
of music. So I've been pretty blessed. It's just in the last couple of weeks that I've met some people that have really opened my eyes in that space. So I've really enjoyed that. But I would say that so this is my first year of being like a true professional athlete. This is my first year not working. I've always had a job, and this is my first season not working. And I found it really hard to get home from practice and not feel like I have to go to work.
Oh my God.
Isn't it weird?
Yeah.
Because that's something that's ingrained in us that I've had to do for 4 out of my 5 years playing now. I've always worked. So it's weird when I get home to be like, oh, you can take the dog for a walk instead of like you have to go study or you have to go do this or blah, blah, blah,
Oh, I'm actually the opposite. So I've been trying to be professional full time for most of my WNBL career, and I only started studying this last year. And when I'd finished studying, we had like 3-4 weeks, and being comfortable sitting still after practice and not feeling like I had to go study or do something or like stay productive was quite hard.
Yeah.
So
this is a question I think for myself. What is your hair care routine?
I have long hair.
Your hair always looks amazing, even during sports.
No one understands how you play with a long pony.
Yeah,
like, she's mad crazy hair.
I have a really long hair.
For anyone that can't see on the screen, she's got long hair.
I got long hair, guys. Actually, the fun thing, it's getting to the point where it's so long that like it gets caught. And I'll give it an example. Looking at you, camera. Oh crap! It gets caught under my armpit when I'm playing, and sometimes it pulls back my head, and I genuinely turn around thinking there's someone behind me, and go like, "Oi!" And then
what
I'm
are
like,
you doing?
Oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
I'll be like, no.
It's so long that when she cuts it, she's like, "Babe, did you not notice?" And I was like, "What do you mean? It's still down to your stomach."
Or like even when it's super sweaty games or whatever, sometimes I'm in the middle of a layup, and I will actually send in a photo that you can use for this. It will be across my whole entire face. It will be across my whole entire face. And this is the level of superstitious I am, by the way, is that I have played every single game of my career in a ponytail, and one time I wore it in a bun and I played terribly, and I can never do it again.
You can't.
I can't. It would just, it's bad juju. It's bad juju. So the ponytail, it's staying and it's never going anywhere. And my hair care routine, that's a long list. I use a lot of,
How much time we got?
yeah, I use a lot of castor oil, rosemary oil,
Use the oil.
the argan oil.
Yeah.
There's a lot of oils.
Yeah.
I oil pull once a week.
Yeah.
You know.
Takes her about an hour to just brush her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wash it once a week, and sometimes just to like sit in the shower and brush it through takes me like an hour. Anyway, okay, that's.
Superstitions are real, by the way. I only came up with. People always ask about superstitions.
There's a question here about superstitions. What are your superstitions?
Well, I was going to say I've never had them before, but this last year I've started to grow them.
What are they?
This is going to sound so disgusting.
Mine
but
are-
I wash every time. I've worn the same spandex since NBL 1 finals.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wore them at Asia Cup. I wore them in Com Games, and then I wore them during like the NBL 1 final series and the national. I wore them all season.
Nice. Is it the red ones?
No, the maroon ones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they're really nice.
Yeah.
Jersey.
I know which ones those are.
Yeah.
At
Jersey.
My superstitions. I am very superstitious, and I'm convinced that this is like an anxiety
Also
coping mechanism.
routine.
Yeah, very routine based, but also like. So here's one thing: when I'm on a plane, when I go to the bathroom on a plane, when I flush, I have to have my fingers and toes crossed.
What?
I don't know what I
insane.
actually don't know at what point in my life I started doing that.
But why?
I don't know.
What do we?
Well, at one point I
what's
was
the purpose?
I think I was so scared of flying that I was like,
flushes?
I was like, I promise God that if I have my fingers crossed,
Please
nothing
flush.
will happen.
Please go down. May nobody's experience this.
No, I just didn't want the plane to crash. And at one point in my life, I was like, if I
Yeah.
cross my fingers when I flush the toilet, the plane's not going to crash.
Yeah.
And I've never grown out of it.
Wow, and it's never crashed.
Yeah. So
Unreal.
now that it's just
They correlate.
yeah.
If you've
Okay.
ever been on Anneli's flights, you're welcome.
Yeah. The finger crossing, toe crossing thing at the end of every national
Which toes?
anthem.
Which toes do you cross?
My
Is it the big ones or the little ones?
big one.
Yeah, the little toes.
No, the big ones. I have my big toes crossed and my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
During the national anthem of every game.
Ah,
I have my hands behind my back. Yeah.
that's crazy.
So when
Pull
we're-
up the pictures.
Yeah, seriously, if you're ever like, if the flag is behind our bench and we all have to turn, the other team is looking at me with my fingers crossed behind my back.
And they're like, what the
What the hell is she
What
doing?
is that?
Yeah. And then another one, I'm sure that this is a common basketball one, but when I step on the court, I have to make my first shot. And if I don't, I miss my second one and make my third.
During the game or like warm-ups? Or just like
All of the above.
as soon as you get there, after you're ready,
At any time.
heading to the court.
Any point in time.
As soon as you
as
step
soon
on,
as I
you
step
have to
onto a
make first.
basketball court, I have to make my first shot. And if I don't make my first, I intentionally miss my second to
You're
make my
crazy.
third.
What if you don't make your third?
Then I intentionally
Fifth.
miss my fourth to make my fifth.
You're an
It's
odds
never gotten
gal.
that far.
You're at odds.
It's never gotten that far, but it's super strange. I don't.
Oh, and I have like a routine that I have to shoot from. Like I have to do form shooting like 3.
I mean, that's normal. I think.
I don't think
Flushing,
I've- if I
having your
don't shoot
fingers
them, no,
crossed on a plane is
That's
not,
weird.
It's weird
not
as hell,
weird,
man.
it's different.
It's weird as she is individual.
She's got a personality.
She's a crazy one. That one.
That's fun.
What are your the laptop died, but I remember the next at least 5 questions. What are your goals in the future moving forward? Outside of basketball, sorry.
Outside of basketball?
Outside of b-ball.
Oh, well, we've talked about it all the time. I want to buy a house that we can like stay in at all times of the year, like have like a home base in Melbourne. I'd love to get my law degree, and I would love to become a solicitor in the future and at least help people. And then, like, I don't know if I can talk about like the long-term goals. Like, I love basketball so much, but if we're not talking about basketball, I'd love to at least help run a club because I love community engagement. I love building relationships with people, and I just see that it is underutilized at the moment. Big words.
I like it.
What are your goals? And I'd love to grow my hair longer and pick up a really good routine.
I can maybe help you with that. My goals, I would say, I have for the longest time, I thought that after basketball, I would want to work in like the design space, but I want to do something creative. And I love art and I love painting, and whether that's curating my own art or being a part of a world in which I can help and aid people to create or create a creative space for people everywhere. That's kind of where I think, and you know, whether that's having a studio in my home, I will always want to have access to a creative space and be able to create on the daily. That is my goal, I guess.
We had such a cool studio space when we were staying together in Eltham, and it was just this room, and it was like we had a backdrop, like just like a sheet covering the wall, because Anneli does these like lots of splatters, and like sometimes I'll come in and she's just covered from head to toe.
My favorite way to paint is with my hands.
Yeah.
So I'm using like my fingers and my palms to create texture.
Insane. And like the stuff that you do, like the way that you get creative is like one time she just left her painting outside by accident, and then drips fell because it started
this was the best.
Night.
This was the best. Yeah. I did this really cool abstract painting and I left it outside to dry, and it rained.
What was your favorite piece?
And I was like, before I thought I loved it, and then I went outside and I was like, no, it's been rained on. And then I looked at it and I picked it up and I was like, Picasso.
Look at this
I liked it.
Ooh.
You know, like I was really into it. I will ask you one more question.
Yeah.
How do you bounce back after a quote unquote bad game?
It's taken me a while. It's taken me a while to get there because, like, obviously everyone when you're younger, bad game is the end of the world, and it's like the worst thing that could ever possibly happen to you. But obviously, like watching film and like just thinking about my approach to the game, and I'm super methodical in that. I feel like if I make a mistake, all I need to do is like practice that mistake and make sure that like if it's a missed shot or something that I think was like led me into that, or like bad shots or bad defense, I just need to work extra hard at it that week.
Yeah.
Honestly, just so I can feel better about myself in that specific situation.
Yeah.
And also, like when I talked about before, like it's not a failure, it's a room for improvement.
Yeah.
It's if I've had a bad game, I just need to think about where the problem lies, you know, and we talk about this all the time, like this is how I handle everyday life really, is like where is the issue and where can I get better, where can I fix this?
Yeah.
And so when it comes to basketball, it's like, well, did I do enough beforehand? Did I eat enough beforehand? Did I rest enough? Was I taking dumb shots? Was I not running back? Like all of those sort of easier ways, rather than just thinking that one bad game is the end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm not there yet. Don't know. I'm trying to figure that out. And I'm okay with saying I'm not there yet. I don't know how to bounce back after tough situations yet. I'm just not there.
I think as well.
I'm working on it.
Yeah. And it's not always just about like the performance aspect as well. Like sometimes it's like the mental side of it, right? And like how do you really adjust like the mental approach to a game?
Yeah, we are going to have to get you back on for another episode.
How long have we been talking for?
A really long time, because there is still so many more questions, but we're going to have to do a part 2 eventually.
It's all right, I'm hosting now.
It's Marena Whittle's Under the Surface at this point actually, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on, and I hope that also, like, I know we spoke about for the people listening, I know we spoke about some pretty deep stuff, but it's super important to be open to having these conversations with the people in your life.
Yeah.
Create the space to have these conversations. If that's something that I can leave you with for this episode, create the space to have these types of conversations and encourage people to, you know, question things that don't feel right respectfully. Thank you, Marena, for joining us. Marena and Loki, who is under the table.
Thank you so much for having me. Loki is currently licking my leg.
Yeah. So this is Anneli Maley, and that was Under the Surface.
Wow.